Hello and welcome along to another episode and the start of a brand new season from this FM20 story, A Wandering Dork with me, Daniel. It's season 3 episode 1 and today we're back for the first day of the National League season, but of course we're not there for the football today, we're back for another busy transfer special. My word, it's been a bit more frantic than we expected, but it certainly has been an exciting one and we've got plenty of news for you moving both in and out of the club, which we'll of course go through in a moment. We start on the profile screen so as not to spoil anything. There were plenty of little news items on the home screen. I don't want to give you any clues for this one, as there's been plenty going on in the club. And also because before this episode we've got a quick service announcement. Tomorrow will be the start of the new schedule on the channel, and that's because the new series will be starting too. The head coach is back for the FM20 edition. For anyone who hasn't seen it before, it's a journeyman story combined with a director of football challenge. We have no say in transfer contracts or staffing, and we just have to work with the hands we're dealt. We move from club to club as you would in a journeyman, but of course we'll have no say in anything along the way. It puts so much emphasis on what we do on the pitch, makes us focus on training and tactics. I originally started doing it because I was spending so much time on transfers as I do in this save, and also because I was getting so lazy with training and not really paying too much attention to it, and I didn't really take time to understand tactics, which was causing a few problems in previous editions. So that save has solved both of those problems, and it's now become a series I really enjoy. Working with people and relying on ones that you have no say in really does make things quite difficult. You of course still get the blame if it all goes wrong, as the manager would normally, but the modern restrictions of a head coach often aren't dissimilar, and although we usually see it at the top level of English football, we're going to be doing it from the very bottom. So I do hope you'll come and join me for that tomorrow, and then these two long-term stories will just rotate every day. So the first game of the season from this series will be on Tuesday, and we'll have an episode every 2 days moving forward. The FM20 beta save with Luton Town finished yesterday, so do go back and catch up with that one if you haven't seen it. A dramatic end to the season as we try to secure survival, and you can find out if I made costly and emotional rash decisions with my favourite club by clicking back on the eye above. But today we're focused on Dorking Wanderers and a massive transfer window. If you are looking forward to another season and enjoying this series with Dorking Wanderers, please do put a thumbs up on the video, and if you're new to the channel and looking forward to the head coach or this one, please do subscribe for daily FM20 content. But we start on our profile firstly to show you we've got a new deal, a slight wage increase and another season on the board, and we've already got the attributes to say that we're known for signing young players for the first team, so it's really good that we're giving youngsters an opportunity, something we'd like to be part of our legacy. But let's get straight into the transfer screen via one new staff member. I teased it in the review episode a couple of days ago, and of course talked about him being a very good coach, but he's someone that we've known at the club before and had been a little bit of a problem last year actually. Stuart Lewis, the experienced central midfielder, retired after being released in April, and he has come back as a fantastic coach. Yes, he's only got a balanced personality, but everything else is absolutely brilliant. Mentally he's very strong, his knowledge is good, and most importantly he's a very decent coach. So if we can get a fitness coach in now, as our chairman's kindly allowed us another staff member with promotion, we really will have a brilliant team. But as we talked about in our end of season review a couple of days ago, this is going to help individual training immensely. With young players and a very young side, it's going to be crucial moving forward, and we've secured his services for 2 seasons, so he's going to be able to help these youngsters develop through to the first team. So let's go and have a look at the transfer screen. Not too much more to worry about in staffing, and I warn you there is quite a lot on here, probably more than we were expecting. It's been a bit more frantic, we've not had the business done as early, and you can see there are signings up until the middle of last week. So we've signed 14 players this summer, and that includes bringing Fabio Lopez back on loan yet again. And we've got 8 or 9 going out, again making a transfer profit. But let's firstly go and look at the release players. Just Joshua Platt leaving the club this summer. Aside from that, all of them were transfers, so let's go through them individually. We'll start with the outs, of course the least exciting bit, but just as important in some of these players' developments. You can see around half of them are youngsters going out on loan, which has happened once we've managed to get replacements in. We've been able to upgrade a bit later in the summer and getting 2 or 3 bits of quality I wasn't expecting. Our director of football picked out one from the thin air as well, which has allowed us to sell on 1 or 2 more. So firstly we have made a transfer profit, something that's part of our chairman's objectives, but we'll go through them in order, starting with the loans. Matt Ellis going off to Hereford. A good young player and he needs a season of football. He was unhappy last year as he wanted to go out on loan, so we're giving him the opportunity and hopefully he'll shine. If he doesn't, he'll be released at the end of the season. Jordan Anya, he was on our list of possible possible release players, but he did agree to sign a new deal in the end, and now he's gone on loan to Boston, who will pay all of his wages, so I'm hoping he'll develop with a season of football too. And then Kevin Kavanagh's the third one. He's gone to Concord Rangers for the year. A young left winger with plenty of talent, has now got a fairly professional personality. His determination has gone from 3 to 6 just from being in an individual mentoring group, and that's worked really well for him, so it should help his development, and a season of football will be crucial for him. Then Arthur Reed we had to sell. No one wanted him on loan, and he did become 5th or 6th choice. He's that little bit older at 21, so not as much room for development, and even though he was a youth player at Luton, I've got to take away all of the bias. So he's gone to Telford for £5,500, another good little deal. It's one of my favourite things about this edition of FM actually, has never really happened in the past. So many little tiny transfer deals between lower non-league clubs, something that happens all the time in real life. Barely used to happen in Football Manager at all. Everyone's transfer budgets were 0 in and 0 out every year, and it just wasn't quite that realistic. So seeing these little deals between £3,000 and £5,000 really does make me really happy. It shows the amount of research that's gone into the game just to make it as realistic as possible. But then the last loanee from that group of youngsters, Callum Bailey again going to Hereford. He'll join Ellis there, playing as a central midfielder. Got a professional personality, so all he needs is football, and I'm hoping this season will serve him well. Then on to the sales. Freddie Grant went to Hemel Hempstead. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a fee for him. He was just declining, and physically he's not good enough. He wasn't going to be able to step up to this level. So he's back down to the National League South. It does say a lot actually that all the players we've sold have gone to the level below. None of them really playing at National League standard, so they probably aren't good enough for this level yet. We've got Lewis Binks, as we mentioned in the last episode. Attitude being the most important thing. A good young player with plenty of potential, but he didn't quite have the right character. So fairly professional. He's moved on to Oxford City. £3,500. He'll probably do really well there, but he's a player we just had to get out the club. He was causing a few problems in the dressing room. And then Emmanuel Adebayo, another one who got unhappy in the summer. He ended up forcing his way out virtually. Just under £5,000 to Dartford. Playing in the division below, I'm sure he'll do well. He played for us last year and was relatively confident. Despite having a fairly modest average rating, I think he'll develop into a pretty decent player, and hopefully Dartford will allow him to do so. And then finally, Amrash Ahmadi's gone out on loan. He's gone to Billericay, again in the division below. 2-star ability and a bit more potential. Again, just needs first team football. We were in the position where we had 2 good left backs at the club, and he wasn't really going to feature that much, so it seemed sensible to loan him out, and his replacement as backup is on non-contract terms. So that deals with the outs. Let me know if there are any surprises there. I think bar Ahmadi, everyone was on that list last season to go. We've just loaned the ones out that we didn't want to sell, and most of the others have gone on permanence. So if you think there's any mistakes there, then do tell me. Of course we'll find out later in the season if we're right, but I'm hoping you'll be a little bit more relaxed once you've seen the players coming in. I think some of them are absolutely sensational. So we'll start with Jack Broom from Watford, a 17-year-old right back at the time. Now 18, he's got 2.5-star ability, 4-star potential, a decent solid right back. He is the strongest at the club, half-a-star upgrade on Ethan Vaughan, though crossing is really a problem for him, so Vaughan is probably going to start the season as first choice. As we talked about in the review episode, we don't just want to throw loads of new players in, we want to bed them in individually, trust a lot of the players that did well for us last year, and Ethan Vaughan allows us to do so, and then we'll gradually work Broom into the side. But he can also play centre-half, so he's versatile too, and physically he's fairly decent, which is important for a young player trying to develop. Then second is Terrell Whittaker, probably one of the best signings of the summer, on a free from Tottenham the youngster, another one of those initial trial group. He's a 3-star ability striker with 4.5 potential, 14 for finishing and heading, good dribbling, good first touch, really good acceleration and pace. His off the ball movement's pretty decent too, probably just his composure that needs a bit of work. He's actually rated slightly better than Cameron Archer as the advanced forward, and that shows you just how good he is, and his attributes are probably slightly stronger as well, so he's going to be putting up a fight for the first team. We initially got him on non-contract terms, but he's already agreed to sign a new deal since, so we've got him snapped up for 2 years and he's worth a bit of money, so if he does well we may be able to sell him for a profit. But having him as well as Archer and Presley means that if one of our strikers brilliant and we lose them, we're still going to have 2 really strong ones at the club, as well as making money for the football team. Then the next one's a backup one. He's a natural on both sides at fullback. You might recognise the name Adam Henley. He was a youngster at Blackburn about a decade ago. Did play games in the Premier League. I think it was the Paul Ince and Sam Allardyce era. 7 games as they went down. In fact, I think it was under Steve Keane he may have played. And then in the Championship he made load of appearances for them before moving over to America and then back to England. It's the lowest level he's played at. 2.5 star ability, 3.5 potential. He's got 2 caps for Wales. He's an international player. Slightly more experienced at 27 years of age, and we're not paying him unless he plays a game, and he's a natural backup on both sides, which makes it easier if we have an injury crisis. So I'm really pleased with that type of signing. Not too much investment needed from the club, and a good player to have around in the dressing room and hopefully on the training ground too. Then the next one's one I'm really happy with, again from the initial set of trials. William Hondermark is a brilliant name too, a 20-year-old French central midfielder. On £500 a week he's got 3-star ability, 4.5 potential, and you can immediately see his attributes are so much better, particularly than the likes of Whelan and Adebayi last year. He played 10 games over in Ireland a couple of years back and has been in the Norwich youth team ever since, and now released he moves over to us at Dorking Wanderers, and I think he's going to be a superstar in the National League. He can play on the right wing if we desperately need it, and as a number 10 if we want to change shape, but for now I think he's going to be a superstar, and we've also managed to get him on a 3-year deal. Then next is a new first choice goalkeeper, the reason Joshua Platt was released. Sam Ramsbottom is a goalkeeper that's featured a lot in non-league in the past. At 25 years of age, 2.5 star ability, 3.5 potential. He's just a solid keeper across the board, probably not the one we were dreaming of. We did have our eyes on someone else, and actually I'll go and have a look at him. He went off to Leeds in the end I think. Wigan he ended up going to. A really good 18-year-old goalkeeper, but he just wouldn't agree to discuss terms with us. He was released by City, so probably too good anyway. But we've managed to get a solid goalkeeper. He's only on £350 a week, so no harm if he becomes a backup. And he's played at the 2nd tier in Scotland, as well as in the National League North for Alfreton. So plenty of experience. We've got no qualms about him being first choice, and a good understudy in Fergal Hale-Brown, who's of course very familiar to the side. Then next is probably our one mistake of the summer, the one that we talked about trying to avoid in the review episode. We talked about adapting to a higher level and what we did in terms of transfers and scouting. This is the one that slipped through the net. Blair Lyons joined. He's played in Scotland before, and partly because I recognised his name I fell for it. He's now only 2-star ability and 3.5 potential, although he initially looked like he was going to be brilliant. He's already causing problems in the dressing room, so he's transfer listed and loan listed, and in his history he has played for Falkirk and Montrose, but he's certainly not going to be playing very much here. He's a good versatile player. We thought he was going to be useful, but it's the one mistake of the summer, so I'll certainly hold my hands up to that one. But it was the start of 3 Scottish signings, and the next 2 are much better. Mark Durnan's as backup centre half, 28 years of age. He can also go up front as a target man. On non-contract terms, we're not paying him much, so a good player to just have around at the club. And then next is Ross Matthews, another non-contract player. 2.5 star ability, 4-star potential in central midfield. Was going to be first choice until a week or 2 before the year, but we got one bit of stardust that managed to come in. A really good technical player. You can see his natural fitness is exceptional, and he's going to be crucial if we get injuries. He's got really good experience with Raith Rovers, and of course he's a very versatile player too. Then next, Fabio Lopez. He needs no introduction. Back for a 3rd season. 2.5 star ability, 4.5 potential, and he'll start the season as first choice right winger. Then down to the next one. This one was a position we were desperate for. We were looking at left backs. We had 2 or 3 that we were trying to bring in. All of them rejected us to go to higher tier clubs. And then our director of football put in his only bid of the summer for this guy. And what a find he is. We owe the director of football. Let's go and thank him now. What's his name? It's Lewis Hone, I think it is. Let me just go and find him and his attributes. We need to see how he's managed to do this. 12 for judging ability, 12 for judging potential. And he found Jordan Zamora. He's paying him £575 a week. 4-star ability, 5-star potential left back. A 21-year-old who's been released from Bournemouth via Charlton. A fantastic young defender. 15 tackling, 12 marking. Decent technically crossing it as well. Works hard, physically sensational. It is one of the best signings of the summer by far. I'd love to take the credit, but I've had absolutely nothing to do with it, so thank you and well done to our director of football. A brilliant left back for the next 2 seasons, and he's one of the few in our squad that could play in League 2. And then next is a bit of a backup youngster, a little bit of a gamble this one. Gael Kaleba was released from West Ham. We needed a backup left winger. We've got Tom Richards, who we don't know if he's good enough, so Kaleba's come in as our backup there. He'll probably go out on loan, to be honest, only on 180 quid a week, and St Albans want him, so in fact we are going to loan him out. We'll leave Tom Richards as our backup for now. So a good young signing, he might develop, and if he does we'll have a decent player on our hands. 3 more to go, and I hope you can see why we're getting excited now, and let me tell you these are 3 of the best. First is 2 centre-halves, starting with Bashir Humphreys. He was on trial at Reading and we managed to snap him up. 3.5 star ability, 4.5 potential, already an international player. I think that's Uganda he's playing for, it is. He's not the best in the air, his heading ability isn't great, but physically he's an absolute monster, and he's pretty decent in the tackle as well. So we'll start the season with Harbottle and O'Dwyer, although of course O'Dwyer's suspended after the last game last season. He's been playing in the African Cup of Nations though. He's used to high pressure situations. He's been released from Chelsea. He's trained at the highest level, and I think he's going to become an absolute superstar. And once they're up to speed, he's going to be joined by Lewis Lomas. Harbottle probably having to make way here. Again, 3.5 star ability, 4.5 potential. A really good player at 20 years of age. Released from Norwich, a club that have given us so many players. Vaughan and Giorgi were among them last year. Of course, we've now got Lomas and a couple of others this season. He's been absolutely fantastic so far for the club, and I think he's going to be first choice straight away. So him and Harbottle will start the season, of course due to O'Dwyer's suspension, and then we've just got to work out where Humphreys will come in, and then O'Dwyer's a brilliant 4th choice too. So he's probably the most complete centre-half we've got. I'm as excited about him as I was Harbottle last year, and again on such a modest wage for a 2-year deal. We've got a chance to build this side over 2 seasons. So this year we just want to consolidate, get the lads to gel together well, and then next year we'll really push for the top 7, and maybe even get in the playoffs in the National League. And then last of the bunch is the big money one. He's probably the most frustrating one of the window actually. We tried to sign him just 2 weeks before and Derby came and stole him at the last second. And it means we're now paying double the amount to loan him. £1,100 a week. But just look at him. 4-star ability, 5-star potential. Mentally he's like a 30-year-old. He's a fantastic player. 15 passing, 13 technique. Solid physically. He's got to be at least a League 1 standard player. There are some players we've had on our Luton save who aren't better than that. He's certainly going to be a fantastic pro. He was released by Arsenal and then of course picked by Derby. We've managed to get him on loan for the year, and I think he is going to be an absolute superstar, and he plays in our preferred deep line playmaker role. So we can now play with our preferred midfield too. No ball winning midfielder getting sent off every 3 or 4 games, and it probably does spell the end for Jake Gallagher, but we want to keep him in and around the squad for 1 year. He's going to be the best youth mentoring player still, so we want to make sure his professional personality is key, and then after that hopefully a few of these boys will have developed and they'll be able to become superstars in this side. But Smith was a brilliant signing. I just had to spend the money on him. As a result, we're still under our wage bill, but not by quite as much. We're committed spending 10,000, currently spending just over 11. There's still 2.5 grand of the wage budget remaining, but of course we're trying to look after the finances too. We've just dropped into the red, but there is a bit more in terms of TV money this year, and we'll probably get bigger gates too. So I'm not quite as worried about that at the moment. Hopefully we can go on an FA Cup run as well. So I'll show you what all of that means for the club, as well as a couple of little bits of news off the pitch too. So if we go and have a look at the squad positions, there's a couple where we've got a few extra players, probably 2 or 3 I'd like to get rid of from the squad, and a couple that are there just for backup reasons. So we've got 2 on loan at the moment, a youngster on the left wing and an experienced player in Ryan Dow. He used to play for Dundee United and the scouts and coaches rate him well, so he might be the last signing of the summer, the final piece of the jigsaw we're looking for. We're going to loan out Kaleba as we mentioned, Briggs and McShane are just there in case of crisis, and Blair Lyons we'll try and get rid of too, with 1 more centre-back potentially leaving. At the moment we've still kept the likes of Pryor, Richards and Gallagher, the 3 experienced players, just to have around in the dressing room and our mentoring groups, but it's definitely will be their last season at the club, and they might not even make it through the full year. But Aaron Presley's still one of the standouts. It just shows how good he was at the end of last season. He's the only one in that sort of top 7 or 8 from last year's team. Aaron Presley's still the star player at the club. So a really good summer transfer window, although a little more frantic than I'd like, and with some of the signings being later in pre-season, I think it'll probably take a bit longer to adapt. We're playing high level opponents and it won't be a brilliant season, but as long as we can consolidate in mid-table, you know we've got most of these lads signed up for next season too. So on 2-year deals we want to build towards something special, and the reason for that is listed in our club vision screen. Of course, getting promoted earlier changed the 5-year plan, and that is next season to become an established National League side after avoiding relegation this year, and then a top half finish as well as reaching the playoffs, all due to be done in the next 5 seasons. You can see, as we mentioned a bit earlier in the summer, in that end of season review on Friday, a few of these players have gone down half a star, so the likes of Gallagher and Giorgi now only 2-star ability, and a lot of the ones that were 3-star like Whelan and Harbottle now have gone down to 2.5. Archer's taken the biggest dip, he's down to 3-star, and he is starting to struggle in training a bit. I think he's probably worried about the new striker Whittaker coming in, but if he performs to his best he'll still get a chance. But a really good window, and we're looking forward to our first match. I can confirm that will be against Bromley. And although it's at home, we'll have a slightly reduced capacity for this game, mainly because a couple of improvements are being made. So if we go and have a look at the facilities, it's currently reduced by 216, and the reason for that is they're putting 500 seats and standing space in, which will just move the capacity up very slightly. That'll be completed in a couple of weeks' time, so we'll probably only miss the first 2 or 3 league games. It'll be ready for the first one in September, so hopefully we'll see a noticeable change in the game. But we've got a massive tough start to the season coming up. The side that got promoted with us last year in Dulwich after the Bromley game on the first day, and then a run of sides like York, Chesterfield and Torquay, certainly going to be a difficult start. There's loads of professional sides at this level and it's going to make things very difficult. We're only still training 2 times a week, and of course that's going to have an impact on our development. But we will try our best, and we'll be back in tomorrow's episodes for the first 2 games of the season. Bromley at home, a new opponent at this level, and then a very familiar foe in Dulwich Hamlet. But if you did enjoy this episode and another transfer special, please do put a thumbs up on the video. I'll finish on the squad screen so you can let me know who you think the star's going to be. Where do you think our biggest improvements were? Are there any areas you're not happy with our improvements, or anyone you're sad I've let go? Or do you think we've done a good summer of business and think we can stay up quite comfortably? I think we'll stay up no problem at all, but I don't think we'll go beyond mid-table this year, although the media expect us to finish a bit higher, and we'll talk about that at the start of the next episode. If you did enjoy the episode, please put a thumbs up on it. It really does make a great difference. Subscribe to the channel for daily FM20 content from 2 long-term stories. A reminder again, the head coach starts tomorrow. The FM20 edition will be unemployed in tomorrow's episode. It's a journeyman story combined with a director of football challenge. No say in transfers, contracts or staffing. We'll get the first club that'll offer us a job, and we'll work with the hand we're given. Then as a result of the new schedule, this will be back in 2 days' time. The 2 long-term stories rotate in each day, and that will continue all the way through till Christmas, where we'll have a little special mini-series. But a massive thanks for watching this one and your continued support of the series as always. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time for another important episode as we play our first game in the Vanarama National League.